Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our webinar for today, which is where we will be discussing SEO 2024 and beyond. My name is Mick Carney. I work for Heartbeat Digital. We hopefully will be joined by Alan, who is the head of our SEO department at Heartbeat Digital. Heartbeat Digital is a company that mainly deals with healthcare clients, but we also have a range of clients outside of healthcare. But a lot of the stuff I speak about today will be pretty targeted towards those of you, I think most of you here, who are in the healthcare industry. So today we will try to cover SEO, what it is, in some very plain English, why it matters for your business. I'll give you some real world examples, as I said earlier. I'll give you a list of what not to do. So that should be pretty self-explanatory. We'll discuss some of the tools that we use for SEO, some of which are free, a lot of which are free, but some of which cost an absolute fortune you probably won't be interested in. We'll try and discuss a little bit the future of SEO, and obviously the elephant in the room here is AI. We're not AI experts, but we know enough about it to discuss it with you. We'll discuss whether or not this is something you may be able to do yourself. Can you do SEO yourself? Maybe you can. And then we'll have a wrap up, some Q&A. Also, I should mention here that the Uber Eats icon down the bottom there is purely for decoration. No, it's not. It's not. Everyone who's attending today has a chance to win an Uber Eats voucher to the value of $50, I believe. Julian, can you confirm that value? $50.
$50, that's right, Mick.
$50, which will get you probably half a serving of fried rice in today's prices. So, but anyway, that's better than no voucher. So, shall we dive into the content? I think we shall. So, what is SEO? SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. The search engine, and the search engine we will mainly be dealing with today is Google. Google, there are other search engines, of course. There's Bing, there's Yahoo, there's DuckDuckGo, but rightly or wrongly, Google is the dominant force in this field and has been for the past decade or so. So we'll be mainly dealing with Google, and what we're trying to do with search engine optimization is help people find your website. So if they type something into search, like if you have a GP clinic in Northcote in Melbourne, you want to make sure that every time someone types in the words GP clinic Northcote, that you are appearing high in that search. So search engine optimization. Talking about basically, think of it as the modern day phone book, yellow pages. But luckily for us, it's a meritocracy. You can get to the top of the rankings, not just by paying, which is also something you can do with Google Ads, but you can get to the top of the rankings just by having the best website and by having the best SEO. So I won't linger too long on what SEO is. I think we're all here because we kind of understand it. We want to show up higher in search results. When people put in a search, we want our website to be shown. And now I guess one of the big questions is, how do we do that? And that's what we'll try and get into during this webinar, but it's a big answer to that question. Some common terms that you may hear us discuss during this presentation, and I'll try and define for you now. So keywords. Keywords are something I think is probably a little bit misunderstood by general population, but keywords are specific words or phrases people type into a search engine. And not all keywords are created equal. I'll demonstrate that shortly, but a key phrase, keywords, you'll hear people speak about in SEO all the time, and they're not all created equal, because some keywords are extraordinarily competitive, and some keywords are very uncompetitive and very easy to get to the top of the rankings. If you're trying to rank, for example, you're in the middle of Sydney or the middle of Melbourne, and there's a lot of other GP clinics around you, and you want to rank for the doctor near me, and you're in the middle of one of these city centres, that will be an extremely competitive keyword. But if you're sitting in a small town, there's one or two doctors there, and maybe you're the only podiatrist in town, for example, and they type in podiatrist, whatever, Crookwell, or some other rural centre, it'll be very easy to rank for that term. All right, so I think I've hit keywords hard enough there. Okay, organic traffic. So the organic has nothing to do with fruit and veg. We're talking about unpaid traffic. Visitors who land on your site through search results, not through ads. Now, when we speak about ads, then we mean mainly Google ads, but also social media ads. So when we talk organic, unpaid is what we're talking about. Now, we will also speak about ranking. And the ranking is the position your site appears on the search result for a key phrase or key word. So roughly speaking, if you're in the top 10, that means you're on the first page of Google. And that's what we're really aiming to do. Obviously, number one is what everyone wants, but as long as you're in the top 10, and that's changed a little bit in the past year or so, is that not as high a percentage of people click on the number one ranking as used to. So as long as you're on the first page now, we're considering that pretty good. Backlinks. So a backlink is a link from another website to your website. Backlinks are very important in SEO. They're maybe not as important as they used to be. That's a matter for debate. But yeah, a backlink is someone else's site and links to your site, and that's something you want to get. Now, a SERP, S-E-R-P, you'll hear it referred to as a SERP. It's a search engine results page. That's basically the page that displays after you do a search in Google. That's called a SERP. Crawling and indexing is another phrase. So the process search engines use to discover and organize web pages. Like you might notice if you have a new website and you start it, you launch it, you might sort of go to Google 3 days later, and it's not there. You can't even find it. Even if you put in the specific name of your business, you can't find it. That may be, or probably is, because it hasn't been crawled yet by the Google bot and hasn't been indexed. So indexing means like they haven't put it in the phone book yet. And that's something that I'll show you if I get time how to do that. Now, SEO is not just something that you do for vanity. It's really important for your business. It can boost your visibility, build legitimacy, drive traffic, leads, and ultimately revenue. So if you follow this diagram here on the left, very clear. Awareness, you need to know people, you need to let people know you exist. So you get into the search results, that brings traffic. Traffic is the number of people coming to your website, and the higher you rank, the more traffic you get. The more traffic you get, the more leads you get, or in this case, maybe more appointments you get. And it's not rocket science, but the more appointments you get, the more revenue you get. So SEO, as I said, it ain't just vanity. It's not just because it's nice to be number one, top of the pops. It's because it leads to real world results. We see that all the time with our clients. Once we get them from second or third page up to the first page, the traffic increases like clockwork. Now, when we speak about legitimacy here, this is also something that, for example, if you get a word of mouth recommendation from someone about business or doctor or whatever service provider, and then you go and Google them and they're not there, that's not good for your business. So that's happened to me a few times. I've been moved into a new suburb. Someone tells me, oh, there's a great doctor there, should go. Google them, can't find them. And that, to use a technical term, gives me the heebie-jeebies. And I would not, it's not a good thing. So you have to be on Google, gives you legitimacy, visibility. I think now, Alan, who's not here, who's going to speak to this. Julian, what do you think Alan would say about this? The science behind SEO, what's an algorithm? So I won't linger too long on this, but basically, the algorithm, think of it as a bot, a robot that goes through your website. Algorithms decide how websites appear in search results, and they look at hundreds of ranking factors to match the best website to each search. Now, the Google algorithm is complicated, to say the least, and it gets updated a lot. So I'll take you through the schematic here first. A simple SEO related algorithm example. A user searches for the best cafes in Melbourne. 2. Google's algorithm scans the web for relevant pages, looking at factors like keywords. Does the page mention best cafes in Melbourne? Location, relevance, and website quality. It then ranks and displays pages based on these factors, prioritizing the most relevant and trustworthy ones. So, as I said, Google algorithm updates hundreds of times a year, and it's always trying to return the best search result for your query. And that's what makes Google the dominant force. And if they start returning bad search results, people will start using other search engines. Now, it's our job as professional SEO providers to keep up to date with the algorithm. But what's getting better and better these days is that what works for human beings and what works for the Google bot are getting closer and closer together. So if you make a website that makes sense to human beings and has the information on it that is logical and puts your best foot forward, then you will most likely be rewarded by Google. Can't promise it, but you will be rewarded by Google in most cases. So SEO also, we should say, here's some real world examples. I'll bust out of the presentation soon, but it depends on where you are. So Google knows where you are, in most cases. So here's an example of some search results. We search for hay fever doctor from a few different locations. So you search for hay fever doctor in Adelaide. On a desktop, you get these results here: hay fever management in Adelaide, allergy and immunology. If you're on London and you're in mobile, you get a totally different set of results. If you're on Melbourne and a desktop, you get a totally different set of results. So keep that in mind. Where you are based at the time of the search will make a difference to the search results that are returned. Another thing to consider is how people search. Now, we conducted a survey earlier this year from a pool of about 10,000 people we surveyed, and because we wanted to confirm how people actually use search engines and a bunch of other stuff to do with digital marketing. You can actually view the survey. Julian, do you have a link to the survey in the chat for this? You can find that, Jules? That might be interesting for people. There's a whole
that is a link. I'll put it in there.
All right, I click on that link, but could you put it in the chat for the Zoom?
Sure thing.
So this is actually a survey we conducted, and it says a lot of results there. I can't go through all of them with you now, but basically it's about what patients actually want when they're searching for healthcare providers. Now, first question we asked was: you're on a holiday in a new area and you need healthcare, non-emergency. What do you do first? Now, not surprisingly, a huge percentage of people go to Google search, and then just below that is a Google Maps search. A small percentage search through social media, which, social media is not a search engine, but obviously the lion's share of people search on Google search, Google Maps search. And how do they search? And this is an interesting one. So location-based searches are the most popular. So some people search for the doctor's name. It only works if you know the doctor's name, of course. Some people search for back pain doctor, for example, like the condition, but most people will search for location-based searches. For example, GP clinic in Sydney. Now, that's not a huge surprise, but that means we will accommodate that information with the way we set up websites. So, which leads us to something that's, for most of you out there listening to this, what you want to be concentrating on and spending time on is local SEO. I'm not sure if you've ever heard this term before, but local SEO, because most of you will have a location that you serve customers in, patients. Now, local SEO is largely to do with something called Google Business Profile. So that's the thing that literally puts you on the map. And I'll show you in 1 second what I mean. So it's when you're on your phone, most commonly a lot of people use the actual Google map rather than the Google search to find somewhere. And your listing on Google Business Profile is incredibly important. So it puts you on the map, literally. It's the place where you can get and respond to reviews. Obviously, in healthcare, reviews are a very hot topic, and people get quite emotional about them, and I understand that because they are very powerful and people do read them. So this Google Business Profile of yours, you need to optimize it. It's not something that you just set up one time and then forget about. You need to make sure you are adding photos to it. You need to make sure that you're listing all your services there. You need to make sure 100% that all of your business hours and contact details are 100% correct. If you want to lose a patient, lose a customer forever, say that you are open when you're not and they turn up when you're closed, that is it. That relationship with that potential customer is over forever. You can also post to your Google Business Profile, and that's something we do for all of our clients. Is if we're doing social media for them, we'll also post to their Google Business Profile. And now if you do those things, you will have a better success. No, here we go. My good friend.
Sorry, Mick, to interrupt.
Alan here is the SEO expert. Can you hear us, Alan? Can you see us?
I can, and apologies for the delay. It's been a bit of a hassle over here, but apologies for everyone that's online.
All good, Alan. Nice to see you, mate. And just talking about the importance of Google Business Profiles here, and how it's not something that's just a set and forget type thing. It's actually really, really important. Would you back me up on that, Alan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Google Business Profile, aside from setting up the main stuff as far as the business goes, which includes like your phone numbers, your address, all those sorts of things, you want to try to expand it out and to include things like your services and your products, and even do things such as social posts to your Google Business Profile. Google loves those sorts of things, and that will help you, move towards the top of the ranking positions for local search and in the maps.
Yeah, and the maps, I'll just say, Alan, it's when we see, because we track and measure all this stuff, we can see exactly where the traffic is coming from. And some of our clients get like a massive amount of traffic from the actual map listing. That's correct, isn't it? I don't feel like I'm making that up.
No, you're not. I mean, the thing is, Google will always prioritize any business or any physical business that's within the proximity or a reasonable proximity of the person doing the search. So if you have a VPN you're working on, well, then you'll be getting results for that VPN location. But if you're in a general sense, yes, you'll be getting the results around your area. And yeah, we do see some good traffic. Some sort of good traffic there on that front. But it's also tied in with the brand aspect. So the brand naming also comes into play with that on a separate scale.
Now, is it also true, Alan, that not every business is eligible for a Google Business Profile? Like if you have purely online, if you only have a telehealth business, for example, can you not? True, you can't get a Google Business Profile sometimes.
Yeah, that is true. Unfortunately, there's quite a few businesses that are ineligible for a Google Business Profile. That doesn't mean that you won't see necessarily businesses that do breach those parameters. But in essence, if you're not receiving clients at your physical practice, or you're not actually physically going out to see those particular clients or customers, whatever the case may be, then yes, you're not eligible for a Google Business Profile. With that being said, then there's also other hurdles that you would need to come through. So it's no good just having a serviced office. So if you're thinking, oh, I've got a serviced office, that will do the trick. No, Google do not like serviced offices. They don't accept that as an eligible form of location. They don't accept post office boxes. There's a whole host of things. But if you've got a brick and mortar place, fixed location. Yeah, and you're welcoming people, or you're going to see them. So you might be a plumber, for instance, and you don't expect people to go around to your house, of course, but you'll be going to their places. That's fine. It's just those that do purely online transactions. Yeah, it's just not acceptable according to them.
Cool. So should we look at some real world examples of some of the stuff we're speaking about here? So here's some. I did some Googling earlier. All right. Now, can you see that screen? All right, guys. You can see my Google search screen there.
Yep,
sure can.
Okay,
Yes.
great. So, for example, here we go. I'm going to do a search in Google, medical clinic in Thornbury. It's a search I did earlier. Now, the top, and you can see that it's the results are for Thornbury, Victoria, Australia. I'm only doing this because I used to live in Thornbury, so no other reason. Now, the Google business profile results, the top, we call this the local 3-pack, are up here. So obviously Thornbury Family Clinic's done all right for themselves. They've gotten the local 3-pack. So that's when we're speaking about Google business profile, again, this is what we're speaking about. The stars, the reviews, you get directions, and you can also link through to the websites. Now, this here would be what would be considered the number one organic result. So Dundas Street Family Medical Clinic is the number one search result for medical clinic in Thornbury. Just a random search I did. But obviously these guys here are appearing above. Now, what happens if we go to the Thornbury Family Clinic and click on their website? What happens here? Well, we get taken to a LinkedIn page. So I would say, sorry if anyone's here from Dr. Georgie, but that is not an ideal result. So we go to Thornbury Medical Centre. We look at their website. What do they have here? You go straight through to their hot dog. So that is also, again, not ideal. So if either of these two people were here, I would say to them, please hook up your website to your Google business profile. But here we have Dundas Street and that Family Medical Clinic. Let's have a look at this.
If I can just jump in there, Mick.
Yeah, of course you can.
So, the question may be, well, okay, well, it's linking to LinkedIn's linking elsewhere, so they're still ranking number 1 and 2 in that 3-pack position. Now, that could be very well the case. Well, it is the case in this situation, but again, it becomes a proximity point of view. So Google favors proximity. The closer, so as far as it's concerned, when we do a search on Thornbury, it will be looking at the local GPO, the GPO for Thornbury, and it will be then expanding out on that. So that's why those will be getting a better bang for buck, I suppose, even though they don't actually have a website per se.
Yeah, that's right. So it's funny, isn't it? Because you would, they seem like, to me, pretty bad results, to be honest with you, that Google is choosing there. But anyway, Google makes up its mind in the end. You can only do what you can do, right? And Thornbury does not have a lot of doctors. So that's also something to consider. So interestingly enough, though, this is the first result in Google, right? In the organic result. And it also made it to number 3 in the local 3-pack. So me and Alan looked at this page yesterday and we had a disagreement. I said to him, if it was me doing the SEO on this site, first thing I would do is I would go in here and I would put the word Thornbury in there, because maybe that's old-fashioned on me, Alan, to do this in this way. Dundas Street Medical Clinic, Thornbury. See, I've updated that, and it says now. That's what I would do. I'm just doing live. These aren't changes on their actual website, by the way. I'm just using developer tools. Now, that's what I would do, because I want to, I think that having what you do and where you do it is the most basic thing you should have in your main heading on your website. But Alan, what do you think? You think that this Thornbury thing here is enough?
No. Look, I mean, we did have a disagreement. That is true, but exactly what Mick's saying is actually correct. I mean, the fact of that the homepage there has the word Thornbury in it. If you can put it there, that's your top. That's the first thing Google will see. They'll always refer to your homepage. The homepage gets the priority. So having your suburb in there is absolutely the best way. The only disagreement that we sort of had was because I said directly after that, you'll see that they've got the address there for Dundas Street, Thornbury. So Google would be arguably smart enough to realize, okay, well, they're in Thornbury, so that's it. But there's nothing wrong what Mick said, and we've done it before with other clients, that we include the actual location. So if someone's searching for a medical clinic, if we look at Thornbury's homepage, and you'll see just the way that the wording is. I mean, you got medical clinic. Okay, someone's looking for a medical clinic, but often people look from a location point of view, and they'll say medical clinic plus location. So if you've got the word Thornbury in there, well, that's going to probably give you a better bang for buck from a Google.
I reckon it's a no-brainer. For me, I go, the golden rule for the title up there is what you do, where you do it. And again, maybe that's old-fashioned on me, Alan. Maybe I don't trust Google. I think you trust Google more than I do. I think that they're not as smart as you think they are. Anyway, I digress. So now let's look at this page. So obviously it's a bit of an old-fashioned website, but the thing that interested me was, when I went down and looked at it, is that this is probably something we'll cover later in the program, but we may as well cover it now because we're here. So what not to do in SEO. And apologies again if anyone is here from Dundas Street. So they have listed here, well, it looks to me also just by and by that all of their doctor's name is interests. So obviously that's up there, but I mean, it looks to be, I thought that's a funny name. Her name's interests, his name's interests, but that's just an aside. So, but it's good that they actually have the pictures of the doctors there. That's a big win, actually, because a lot of people don't even put pictures of their doctors, and that's a massive no-no. Anyway.
Yeah, and then just on that point, yeah, we do see a lot of we do see clients from time to time that they don't want to have their GPs displayed on there, and arguably one of the most visited pages in any of these GP clinics are the doctor pages, and people want to see, well, who am I dealing with, and hopefully there's a smiling face at the end of it. But if there is no face, it's a bit of a turn off. So we do see that coming through. There's more people that leave a page and don't proceed with making a booking than what there are is if you've got a welcoming website.
Absolutely. And it's usually the second most visited set of pages on a website after the homepage. Homepage, doctor profiles. And, I know my wife, for example, she absolutely goes and looks at the doctors, reads about them, other people I know. There's not, it's such an easy win. Just put a goddamn photo of the doctors up there. And look, they're smiling, good stuff. Well done, Dundas. Now, the thing I want to speak about, though, is kind of what not to do, would be this way of presenting your services. So at least they have some information. But let's say I want a skin check, right? I'm going to click on skin check. And that returns this kind of quite scant piece of information. And can you see that's returned in in a pop-up? I don't know if you can see my my URL bar here. Can you see the address bar, guys?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so anyway, so they've got a little bit of information on skin checks. There's been some sort of effort, that's good, but the URL hasn't changed, and it's a very, very small amount of information. Now, if these guys wanted to get more skin checks, then this is not going to, I presume anyway, this is not going to score very well in Google for skin checks. So just a really easy thing you can do if you're watching on here and you want to do your own SEO is make sure you have a page called Skin Check and make sure you put a lot of information on it. For example, I would say dundasstreetmedical.com.au/skin checks, and I will probably even put in there Skin Checks Thornbury as the URL. That's how I would do it. So while we're talking about that, I actually went and did a check for Skin Check Thornbury. Let's just make sure those results are fresh. Yes. So we know that we're in Thornbury, and we know our old mates Dundas Street definitely do skin checks. So let's see if they come up well for that search. First result is Mole Check Clinic. Not surprising, that's what they do. Skin Cancer Northcote, that's obviously they're winning the skin checks race here as well. And the Croxton Medical Centre. Now, where the first result that's coming up for it, a normal organic result, Skin Cancer Checks and Mole Mapping Doctors in Northcote. All right, now let's see if we can find our old friends Dundas Street here. No. no, 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 no. So they haven't made to the first page. And they're number one medical clinic, and they can't even make first page for skin checks. So this is an important thing to remember, is if you might just Google your business and you go GP clinic, wherever, Dr. Fitzroy, and you might be coming up and you go, oh, that's great, everything's fine. But what we do as SEO people is we dig down and say, well, we want you to score not just for the main, your overarching business, but for specific things within that business. So, Alan, should we go and have a look at the number one organic result here? Have a look at that page.
Yeah, let's do it.
Have a look. All right. Say that they've done all right, actually, just with the title tag. That's good. Skin cancer checks and mole mapping. All I would do, though, again, is I'd put the word Northern in there. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. I would put
probably old-fashioned. Probably old-fashioned.
Okay, but I would say Northcote and Thornbury, because I don't know if you know the area, but Northcote and Thornbury are right next to each other. So doctors of Northcote have come up. Page looks okay.
Well, the first thing to notice on that particular
Yep.
page is, and this goes back to, the Dundas one, we just had the services all listed on the homepage. You'll automatically, if you can see the URL, you'll see the URL is structured in a way that we've got services, which is fine because it'll be all encompassing of general. This is what the services we do. Now they look to break out and they say, okay, we're doing skin checks. Here's a special page on skin checks. And so when Google's looking, or any bots, Google bot, any search engine bots looking at that, they understand the path. They understand the story behind that website. So that's a good start. Logical.
Now, one mistake they've done here is they've got the title as an H2. You can see an H. That's a little bit technical, but this is that should, if you can see the H2 there, top left, that should be an H1. Skin checks and mole mapping. You know me, Alan. I'd love to put the word Northcote in there. That's what I'll do. But look, the page has, if you compare it to the Dundas Street one, we've got text. Yes, it is too faint, but we have text. They have a little sun cream thing there. They've got another image here that gives you an idea of probably the mole mapping thing they use. Another paragraph. They've got the fees, and they tell you which doctors do it. Now, it's no wonder that is the number one organic result versus this. So it's not rocket science. Clearly, the other one is better, right? Now, there may be other factors involved in this. Maybe this has got more Northcote doctors in Northcote may have more backlinks and stuff. But I would suggest to you, not to be arrogant here, Alan, but if we were to have anything to do with Dundas Street Medical, and then they asked us, we need more skin checks, we would make a page or a set of pages that would get this website way out of where it is now and up to the top of those rankings. Maybe not number one, can't promise number one, but Alan, would you be confident that we could write a set of pages or do SEO to this to get these guys up rankings?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so this is a good list. The list that we're seeing here is a good list that you would see on a service page. I know it's on the home page. It would be a good list that was on a separate service pages, and then from that service pages, you would write a heap of content around skin checks, focused on, okay, what's the procedure, what's involved, and then from that you might extrapolate out into other pages to help support the different areas of skin checks. We know that people search for mole maps, full body checks. They look for, how do I check the moles on my body? Those sorts of things. So you'd start building those out. But as it is, it's a bit limited. It's quite limited.
Now, I should say, I know we're going too long here, but so we do SEO for a number of sort of larger clinics in some very competitive areas, Melbourne and some in Sydney. And so they have a large investment in skin checks, skin check doctors, skin check technology, all the machines, the mole mapping, whatever. And it's a really important part of their business. So, Alan, remember this year we had to do, we can't mention the client, but how many pages did we do for the unnamed client to make sure that their skin checks? Because they were quite dominant, and then they got a few competitors came into the area and they weren't getting as much traffic and they weren't getting as many appointments. So what did we actually do there in terms of the SEO?
Yeah, so in terms of that, yeah, the focus was we wanted more skin checks. Okay, so how are we going to do what was exactly on the page? We had a look at that. There wasn't a lot of information. There was one page, and so I know we were talking about just before about at least having a page, and that's a good start instead of having nothing. But what we did is we actually sat down a little bit of probably a flow chart type of thing. We said, okay, and in sort of our language tend to talk of like a hub and spoke. So the main page is a skin check. Okay, what other pages can help support the skin check things, and so we built probably did about, I think it was 5 to 6 pages there. I mean, there's plenty more pages that you could possibly do, but
Yep.
for this particular client, we did about 5 to 6. Incorporated them, and after look, just and for transparency's sake, just because you build it doesn't mean it happens immediately. I need to stress that. But Google did pick it up pretty quickly. They crawled the page, they indexed it. Now indexing means it's just added to the database. They haven't actually decided where it fits in the ranking scheme of things. But in the end, it started working really well. Those pages worked really well. They brought in a lot of traffic. Not only just traffic, they actually converted to a lot of people booking skin checks. But that was a considered, focused thing that required a range of pages to support.
That would kind of be SEO in its purest form, wouldn't it? I mean, a business has a problem, and the solution to that problem was SEO. Now, we wrote content for specific searches, right? And then we got more traffic, and then they got more bookings. So really, it's kind of like, if you do it well, it has real world like revenue ROI results, right?
Absolutely, it does. And I mean, we tend to talk about, and I do often, I talk about the content, because content, ad nauseum, you might hear the phrase content is king. I mean, in essence, it is, because if you have a blanket piece of paper, you're never going to get anyone to find you. So you need to have some content on there. With that being said, that those pages were built by themselves alone, they did a good job. But then there was other elements behind the scenes to assist search engines that weren't public facing, but to coding behind the scenes to assist search engines when the bots are reading the page, exploring. They're not seeing what we're seeing as a public facing. They're looking at the code behind the scenes. We did some stuff behind the scenes to assist those bots in understanding exactly what was going on those pages. And it was successful.
Now, I'll just take you through some results now. So this is more just a bit of a show-off section for us, but just to show you. So here's a website that we took over their SEO. It's actually 2020. It's a long time ago now. But this is a sort of a pretty common story that we will see. So this is for skincare clinic in Queensland, in a town in Queensland. And they wanted to rank for skincare clinic, right? And this is a very common thing we do. So they were started out outside of the top 50. And then we started doing a little bit of SEO here. And then when you start doing SEO on an existing website, it's kind of like renovating a house. You've got to knock a few walls down first. And so we knocked a few walls down, and all of a sudden Google hated our guts for 1 month. And I don't think we were very popular with the client either. But then Google recognizes the renovations, and you come back up. So, and that was
well, that's the key, Mick. That's the key, because what happens is that Google has an understanding of the website. They look at the website as a whole. They look at the individual pages as a whole. The moment something upsets a cart, it's basically thinking, oh, it's got to relearn. Well, what is this page? What's the context of what's going on here? And where do I position this? I still haven't worked it really out. So that's why often you'll see a bit of a dip in those sorts of situations.
Right. It's very common. Like here again, we made these guys. This is Pinnacle. We made a new website around here, and then straight after the new website, the rankings went down, and everyone's like, "Oh no!" But then it's usually about a month, I think, that dip, and then all of a sudden Google learns about it, and then you continue that upward trend. So that's aggregate rankings from Google. Now, here's another kind of interesting one, I guess, because this is very recent. This is a place in Queensland. So they had a very old, very dilapidated website that had no SEO done on it, and it was one advantage we had was that it was quite an old domain, so that Google was aware of the website and had been for a number of years, but that had no SEO done ever, and the website was shocking. So we made them a new website and started doing SEO. So you can see, because it was an existing domain, we got straight up the rankings straight away. And so if you were in their area before we started and you typed in book GP appointment, they were invisible, and now they're first. Again, for book a doctor's appointment, they were not appearing. They were outside the top 100. Now they're fourth. So again, real world results. Yeah, so it's not vanity. There's real things. So imagine not appearing for book GP appointment, and now you're first. So that makes a huge difference. Some SEO mistakes to avoid. Now, the first one is avoiding shortcuts. And what we're talking about here, Alan, I think we're talking about is black hat techniques. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Really, on the simplest terms, it's just doing stuff to try to get a quick fix for search engines, and that goes against the parameters of what search engines such as Google or Bing,
Terms of service, yeah.
That what they allow. So, back in the day, you'd used to, there's things called, without getting too technical, but things like link farming. So you'd set up a site, you'd put a heap of links in there, and Google would say, that's great, they've got a heap of links putting in there, we're going to give it a real boost. They crack down on that sort of stuff. So it's really dodgy. It's more, for better terms of the words, it's using dodgy practices to try to get a shortcut benefit.
And they'll come back and bite you.
Exactly, it does, because and correct me if we've spoken about this, but I mean the algorithms, have we spoken, Mick, about the
we did, yeah, a little bit.
Okay. So yeah, just with regards to the algorithms, I mean, Google are running hundreds and hundreds of algorithms per year. Now, some are minor, some are considered core algorithms, and that's to target a lot of what they perceive to be abuse of trying to game the system. So definitely, if you can avoid shortcuts, certainly do it, because it'll.
And that would be quite often. Sorry, Alan, cut you off there. You get approached by, even us who provide SEO, we get a lot of people writing us these emails. Oh, we can increase your SEO by 10,000%, guarantee no one. Most of those people will be doing black hat techniques or naughty techniques, and that'll be, again, there's heaps of spammy links, and you've got to be really careful, because if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true.
And not only that, I mean, even if it works, even if you say, oh, well, I'll take the hit, that's okay, I'll run this for a little bit, and when Google finds out, so be it. That may be a thought, but Google also issue manual penalties. And what does a manual penalty mean? Is if your site has been found to be engaging in this type of thing, your site could be completely de-indexed from the website. And so how long you'd be then fighting to try to get back, to prove to Google, oh, I've got everything under board now, everything's kosher, and for it to rank it or to index and then consider ranking again. So it's just not worth, it really isn't worth the potential hassle for
they can wipe you from the internet, basically.
Yeah.
And it's happened not to me, thankfully, but I've seen it happen to other people I know. They've done dodgy things, website gets wiped from the index. Another thing we should say is, don't overuse keywords. That's called keyword stuffing. So probably back 2001, if you just wrote the word, doctor in Thornbury 10,000 times on the page, the Google would say, oh, geez, these guys must be the best doctor in Thornbury. But that doesn't exist anymore. Has to be, your content has to sound natural. Yes, we put keywords in there. Yes, sometimes it might look slightly funny, but you have to use natural language. Weave in those keywords as naturally as you can. Obviously, mobile optimization is huge now. Mobile first indexing is here. So it's really, you can't make your mobile version of your website an afterthought. You really should make it your first thought. We have sites that we manage that 85% of all traffic comes from mobile phones. And obviously SEO and website design go hand in hand here. So when we talk about messy or confusing navigation, that's more of a user experience thing or a website design thing, but website design and SEO, they go together like peas and carrots, don't they, Alan?
They do, absolutely. There was something profound I was going to add there. Just trying to think of what that
At the
was.
mobile first indexing.
But yes, I mean, no, it is very, very important to make sure it's mobile first, and because Google take a range of signals. So someone clicks on a link, they do a search, they click on the link, they visit your website. How long do they spend on your website? What do they do? What actions do they take on your website? Google take all of that into account. They may claim they don't. We know that we know that they do. To what extent we don't, but they do take all of that into consideration, because it's no good them delivering a result where someone's going to leave within 2 seconds. That's no good business model for them. So it's not good business model for any of us. So they do take those signals into account.
And we'll touch on this a little slightly later. We're running out of time. But Google tells massive lies. So Google are not a public service. They're a business, and they lie through their teeth. Sorry, I know this is going to be on YouTube, which is owned by Google, but they do. So, and this year we actually found out, because they had a couple of court cases about how they measure stuff and how they reward you for having more interaction on your website. So, what that means is, it's complicated. It's complicated, but make sure your website, when people are getting to your website, they're not going away straight away. There's something that they can stay on the page, and that would be, if you guys are healthcare providers, most of you would have an online booking system. So a really simple thing to do for you guys is to not have your hot doc or your health engine or your whatever it is take you away to their website. Try as often as you can to embed it in your website and make sure people don't leave straight away. I know it's not black and white, Alan, but that would be a general rule.
No, and I mean, the other side to that, if we refer back to your earlier example of Dundas, I believe it was, and when you selected and you said, okay, skin checks, what do they do? And you get 2 sentences. Well, 2 sentences might not satisfy the general person who's looking for information about, okay, well, I'm after that service. So they disappear quick, smart. And so then they go somewhere else. And so that's a signal to Google that site did not satisfy the user query. Google is also always about helpful content for the user. I mean, whilst we're trying to get it to rank for SEO and do what we can do to position it at the highest point where possible, I mean, it is all about the user experience and how helpful that information is to answering all of their questions.
All right, so let's look at a website that we've done. Actually, we're talking saying a lot of bad things about other people, but let's just do some examples here. So here's a GP clinic, Sandringham, Vic. So this is results for Sandringham in Victoria in Australia. GP clinic. Now, surprise, surprise, this is a website we've done, and we have done SEO on. So it's Sandringham General Practice, doctors in Sandringham. That's a good title tag, if you ask me. So you come through, and that's ranking number 1. That's ranking number 1. So that's pretty good. This is the website we've done. So Sandringham General Practice, we have the name of the practice, and we have doctors in Sandringham. We have the address, and we have the calls to action. Now, if we click on this book online, you will see that it doesn't take you away to another website. It just takes you to their booking page, which has a hot doc frame on it. So what about, though, if we do a search for one of their services? Like, remember our old mates Dundas Street? Let's see. I know they do iron infusions there. Let's see. I think I prepared this earlier, but let's just go here.
Well, hope so, Mick.
I'm sorry.
Well, I hope so, Mick.
I hope so. I hope they come up well. They're outside the top 10. I'll look silly, whatever. Okay, we're ranking number 2 for iron infusions. Not bad, because I know this Sandy Hill. Well done, Sandy Hill. We haven't beaten you yet. They've been around a lot longer. So, as an example here, I can look more into the search result here. And it was only indexed by Google in January 2024. So this website is young, really young. And we started working on it, I think, not long after January. They had another old website that we replaced. But that's a very, very young website, and for it to be ranking for these things is good. So
And
let's
what
have
you
a
would
look at what our
notice, sorry,
sorry.
Mick, what you would notice there, if you wanted to just zoom, if you can zoom in or just highlight just on that page. So if we look at Sandy Hill Medical Centre, you've got a bit of information there. So you've got the without trying to be technical there, but you've got the DA on the top first line, DA 24 out of 100. So the closest to 100 means that it's more authoritative as far as Google goes. Now, don't expect to get to 100. Even government websites don't get to 100, so they could be sitting around 50 or 60. But if you compare it to Sandringham, which is a reasonably new site, we're at 7 from a 100. And then if you even go across the top line again, you'll see referring links. Now they got 660. The quality, unsure of what the quality is, but if we look at Sandringham,
we've only got 6.
Yeah, got 6. So that's actually, arguably it's punching above its weight without doing any deep analysis about, the type of qualities of links and stuff like that. The Sandringham is punching above its weight in that sense.
Absolutely, and I know Bluff Road's been around a lot longer, and there's other clinics there in Sandringham that aren't even appearing. So yeah. Now, it's also important to say that I've got SEO software on this browser, so you won't see it. You people attending won't see this mods, DA, and all this referring domain stuff there. I've got software on this browser. So if we look at the actual page, though, Alan, for iron infusions, you'll see that we've got a lot of information there. It's nicely laid out. We've got how it works. We've got FAQs, and that's why the page is actually ranking, right? Because it's not just like an icon with the word iron infusion and then 2 sentences. We've actually written the content. We've done internal linking. We have nice, easy to read calls to action. And that is a pretty well executed service page, which hopefully in the near future will outrank, who was it? These guys, Sandy Hill. Okay. The other one I want to show you was these guys.
Sorry, if you're going to take something away from that, so if you were thinking of doing things yourself, one thing to keep in mind is on the bottom of that page, you would have noticed a range of frequently asked questions. Okay, so those frequently asked questions are quite valuable. They are valuable because people are searching for those sorts of things. And so if you're writing your own content, you're putting stuff, consider, well, what are the type of questions you've got? And you may already have those sorts of questions in hand from existing patients and stuff like that. You might have them from reviews, things like that you can extrapolate and formulate some FAQs for.
Now, can I tell you though about these guys, Sandringham General Practice? They wanted to start promoting their shingles vaccination, so we created a page for shingles vaccination. Now let's have a look at what happens when you Google shingles vaccine, Sandringham, Victoria. Look at that, #1 result. We're #1 in the search results here, and we even get a little bit of a featured snippet at the top here. So that would be considered a very good SEO.
That's gold in SEO point of view.
Because gold medal.
It is, because those featured snippets. So you'll see the little there's a little question mark down the bottom, and it says about featured snippets. Not every website gets that opportunity. So this is up to Google to decide whether the content on there answers the question and is it worthwhile of having a featured snippet. That featured snippet, just for transparency's sake, isn't considered a rank #1. Rank #1 is an organic that's further down the page. But you could see now, even if you weren't arguably ranking #1 for something, if you've got a featured snippet, which is better? Having the featured snippet there, which has got a lot of real estate that people are going to click in, or something else. So
but that's another example of a page that we've written specifically to capture, shingles vaccine queries. And look, that's you have to have thorough information to rank for these things. Now, we've gone way over time, but we're just going to keep going because that's what we're going to do. Now, let's
sorry to cut you off there, Mick. I was just wondering if anyone had any questions that they might want to ask before the hour is up.
All good. Shall we just continue, Jules? And if they come in, they'll come in. Okay. So what are some SEO tools you can use to simplify the job? Obviously, if you want to use for imagery or images for your website or to try and do a design, sure, use Canva. I think there's a free version of that. The SEO software that we use is, for example, there's one called Ahrefs. We use that, and there's one called SEMrush, which is they're both very expensive. So unless you're doing this professionally, I wouldn't recommend you get those. But maybe you know, if you have a marketing budget, and you want to do the marketing for your business, go ahead, look it up. Ahrefs.
However, with that being said, if you wanted to do some keyword research yourself, there are free tools available. So, and the easiest one, and you might be most familiar with, is when you're typing in a phrase in the search engine, your search bar, and let's say you type in skin checks, and then search results gives you a range of questions that people are searching for. Though they're not making those questions aren't being just provided for the sake of it. Those questions are ones that actually people are heavily searching for. So
people also search for it.
Yeah. So if you're interested in trying to create your own content, that's one way that you can find out what people are looking for.
That's right. We're speaking about this yesterday, and I said
Yes,
if you could just use Google as your entire SEO software if you really wanted to, because they do provide you with a lot of information. Obviously, if you're doing it as a job like we are, you need the professional paid ones. But I mean, Google gives you a lot of information, and all the things we'll speak about now, the tracking and measuring, they're all free. Google Search Console is free, Google Analytics is free, and Google Tag Manager is free. You just have to learn how to use them. So quickly now, how do we measure success of a website or a web page? So a bounce rate, the lower your bounce rate is, the better. So what's a bounce, Alan?
Well, a bounce is basically someone landing on your page and they're not doing anything and then leaving.
Straight away.
They're pretty much that's the crux of it. But I do always like to throw in a little caveat here because a high bounce rate does not necessarily mean that that's a poor result on your website. So it depends on the intent behind that bounce rate. So and I'll try to make an example here, but if you were advertising some info, or you had a page of information on I don't know, shoe types or something like that, and all you wanted them to do is to land there, read the information, and then disappear. You didn't want them to you weren't selling any products. It was just information only. That if that had a high bounce rate, that wouldn't be unusual because you don't expect them to be doing taking any action. But if you're having people visiting your site and you are expecting them to take a particular action, then the lower the bounce rate, absolutely the better.
That's right. And most people who we're speaking to here in this presentation, they'll be, working at a healthcare clinic, some description. They'll want people to read the page and they'll want people to get in touch.
Yes.
Make
exactly.
a book.
Yeah.
Make a phone call. So, 90, so it's not black and white, but the lower the bounce rate, the better. And that's something you can find out in your Google Analytics. So traffic, we obviously want more traffic, but not all traffic is created equal. Of course, we want the right type of traffic coming to your website. So you need to make sure that's happening. We spoke about an example where we had thousands of people hitting a website in Melbourne, and it was really weird because they'd what they'd done, they bought a really expensive property and they were featured in domain.
Oh, well, yes. Well, I mean, they're just things. That was an anomaly. So this is when you're looking at the data and you're saying, wow, we had a massive spike there. What happened? That's completely against the grain. And it just happened that a couple of individuals had purchased a massive property and that had featured in the Australian Financial Review, which resulted in a lot of people going and searching and landing on that. So they weren't interested. They weren't interested in the actual services or products. They just want to have a bit of a sticky beak as to the people. So those are the things. That's one example of having the right or trying to get the right visitors to your site. And the other side of it is as Mick touched on before, the Google Search Console, which is free. That tells you from an organic perspective what people are actually searching for. So it gives you an idea as to, well, they typed in this particular phrase, they clicked on this. Now, maybe those aren't relevant. Maybe if you were sitting down, you were doing an analysis, you'd say, actually, geez, that really doesn't resonate with what the page is all about. And so you'd want to make adjustments there. So you're trying to get the right visitors.
Yep. Another way we measure success is with obviously rankings. We've covered rankings pretty heavily. So I'll talk about click-through rates, CTA will be referred to.
Can I
So
just
that's
jump in? Sorry, Mick, just with
Yep.
regards to the rankings, did you mention about the just, you know, how the snapshot in time?
Oh, not really. No.
Okay,
I
so
haven't
I'll
mentioned
I'll
that.
just quickly mention that. So the rankings, you know, I know everyone loves to see the rankings, highest rankings, and all that sort of stuff. The way the systems work, and this isn't isolated to any particular system. Every system has its own database of keywords and stuff like that, whether it be Google, Ahrefs, SEMrush, any other software platform. They have a database there. Some update it frequently, some don't. But they will take a snapshot of the positions of the rankings at a given point in time. Now, that could be just it could be just a point in time where the ranking just was that day it just dropped for whatever reason, but then the next day it bounces up. So I always say tread with caution when you see drops or fluctuations in rankings. It's better to look at it from basically a quarterly perspective. When you're looking month to month, there's too much signals, it's too messy. It's too messy. You need to get some good data in there. 3 months, you can see whether is it direct trajectory on the right path? Is it not on the right path? What do we need to do? So that's all I'll go on that front.
Don't jump at shadows, because
exactly.
Look at the rankings. Sometimes where we look at our websites for a month, it's just bang, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, just purely due to Google's algorithm updates. And
well, it could be that. It could be seasonal things as well. Not, sometimes people, they're not looking for skin checks in the middle of winter, let's say. They might be looking for flu shots in the middle of winter, and then December comes, Google says, well, no one's clicking on flu shots, so we're gonna negate you down. So just there's a range of things. It's just not worth getting hung up on it unless it becomes a trend. Unless it becomes a trend, then we can make adjustments. Then you say, okay, let's investigate and try to resolve.
Zoom out is what we say, Alan. Zoom out.
Yeah.
3 months. That's sort of like the minimum amount of time. Now, conversions is something. Look, we haven't spoken about conversions yet, but what we're really trying to do when we're doing any digital marketing activity is we're trying to get people to your website and then do something, complete an action, make a phone call, download a brochure, and all the things we're speaking about here are really aimed at getting that end result, the goal, the conversion. But that's probably a topic for another webinar, because we've already gone 5 minutes over. But we'll speak briefly now about the future of SEO. Now, Alan and I, neither of us are Nostradamus here. We don't really know what the future holds. I mean, AI is obviously a revolutionary force in the world, in society, that's not just related to SEO, of course. And I don't think anyone knows what's going to happen next year. I mean, obviously it's a huge deal, but I don't know, Alan, what do you have to add to that? Have you noticed anything so far this year with what AI has done to SEO, or is it mainly about what's going to happen next year?
Oh, look, I mean, I have seen some things from existing clients. I've had a look to see how previously how AI has treated searches on existing clients. One of the things I saw in the early stages was that whilst pleasing to see some clients towards the top being reflected in AI as being the go-to, AI was muddled. So there's a bit of a muddling going on with AI. They're still working, obviously, they are the king. So when I say muddling, they might say ABC widget company, and then the link is to BCDF widget company, completely different things. So obviously that's not ideal.
They lie. So you're talking about, Alan's talking about here, just to clarify, about using something like ChatGPT to search rather than using Google, right?
Yes, correct. And as of about a week, or I'll say 2 weeks or so ago, GPT now you can actually have an extension on your web browser, so that can be your default search engine. So they've allowed that can happen, and the same with Google, of course. They've got their own thing in place. But one of the things I would at this point say from an AI perspective, well, I'd say across the board, just on these points here, Voice search is definitely growing. I mean, people are talking, they're going to be asking their questions more than what they ever did before as
Yeah.
far as typing. And AI is going to be infiltrating, and they'll be responding with what they think are the suitable responses and providing the sources accordingly. Now, whilst there's no agreement on how this might play out or look, it would seem that at this stage, it's important to, when you're putting content together on your website, it's great to have a lot of content. It's better make sure it's meaningful content, but it's, if you chunk it down into bite-sized pieces that answer a particular question. So if I look at this slide here, you got, you know, video multimedia, that's about 4 sentences. You're probably looking at something like that where AI will pick it up, say, oh yeah, actually that's, yeah, we're going to add that into our search results. And then we're going to find someone else, you know, client B who's doing hyper personalization. They 4 sentences there. So it's about being sharp, concise, sharp to the answer.
Information gain, they're calling it, as fast as you possibly can. So that the days of 1,000 word blog post, which just has no images or anything, that's sort of over, isn't it?
Yeah, that is over it. I mean, that might sound that might be in a bit of contrast to what we were talking about earlier with Dundas and showing the skin check, but that was a bit of a different situation. So
they're all bite-sized information that we've broken up, subheadings, lists, images, call to action buttons, FAQs. Break it up.
Yeah, and you break it up, make it easy, bullet points, all those sorts of things, and don't just write for the sake of writing. Answer the question. What do people expect when they're landing on that page? Are they going to get the answers they want? And if they are, great. If they're not, then maybe it needs to be refined a little bit. Or maybe you need a separate page that talks about it.
Again, that could be a whole topic in and of itself. But
yeah, absolutely.
Now here's another slide where we've got a couple left. Sorry, everyone. Like I presume most people have left because we're going over time. But this will be available on YouTube, so you can go and check it later. Can you do SEO yourself? Well, the answer to that is it depends. I would say to you, unless you have an enormous amount of time, probably don't try to do it yourself. But there are little things you can do, like changing the title on your website, or the big heading on the home page of the H1 title, adding your suburb in there after you've seen this presentation. I would consider that an act of SEO. Would you consider that to be true, Alan?
Yeah, I would, and I'd say, you know, if you've got the time, you know your business well. So if you know your business, you know your business well, you start thinking about, okay, what do clients often want, or what are their questions to you, and start answering those questions. Write content about that. If you have the time, write the content. You don't have to do everything. I mean, whilst we're here and we do, you know, across the board, all these different things, it's about taking any small step is better than nothing, because your competitor may not be taking any steps whatsoever.
Any steps, that's right.
So,
and look, there's a lot of stuff we do under the hood, like schema markup and all this kind of stuff that, you know, I would say to you, if you have no history in this, don't bother. But those little things that Alan just said, as you said, anything is better than nothing. Anything is better. Doing something is better than doing nothing.
Yeah, be proactive and try to be. And if you are a person, if you write blogs, if that's something in house that you write blogs, you know, one thing I would suggest there, and this is probably a reasonably easy thing that you could do, is, so Google values fresh content. Okay, so if you have some content there in your blogs that are a bit old, you know, they might talk about COVID, you know, the limitations of COVID. It probably doesn't, you probably don't need that. You might not need that page anymore. So I would remove that, because it's a no longer valuable to Google. And it's sort of got, like, Google look at it like a cobwebs in your haunted house or something.
That's right. It's kind of like that takes up your crawl budget.
Yeah.
It uses up energy from Google. It's like, what is this page about COVID? It's like, that's gone.
Yeah, and it's not gonna matter. But if you've got stuff which is relatively recent, so, and I'll just throw this out here, but, you know, if you've got a page talking about skin checks, you've got data, you say, oh, the statistics is showing this, you know, 2018 statistics said X amount of people get skin cancer, blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe there's been some updates since then. Maybe there was an update done in 2021. maybe you should be getting that most recent data, plugging it in, so you don't have to rewrite the whole thing. It's just keeping it fresh and up to date. And then
I would change the title to say updated 2024. You can do that kind of thing, right?
well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'll often see on the the bottom of the blogs, you'll see modified or published, the dates there, and absolutely
beautiful. Now, I want to just make this point here that, look, we've been concentrating on SEO this whole presentation. The presentation's about SEO, but I think Alan would agree with me, and anyone who's in digital marketing, is it's just one piece of the puzzle. It's a very, very important piece and something you should absolutely do. But it complements, it's one weapon in your arsenal for all these other things. Social media. We're not going to talk a lot about it because that's another presentation, but SEO and social media work together. SEO and ads definitely work together. Google ads, social media ads. SEO and email marketing definitely work together. SEO and having a great website, a great brand, they all work together. It's not, I think the days of just doing SEO or just doing social media or just doing emails is over. I think it's now, you need more avenues to goal, if you're talking in football terms, or more ways to win a point. And I can tell you that, using our experience, we'll give you some bonus tips here that Google would deny. But first tip I'm going to give you is Google Ads. A Google Ads program will help your SEO. Now, Google would deny that 24 hours a day, but we have found it to be true. So particularly for a new website, you need to get enough activity on your website, enough people coming to it, so Google knows what to do with it.
I would say to that as well. Sorry, Mick. Sorry to cut in, mate. I would say that if you were a brand new website, brand new, then you've got lack of patience. You need a revenue straight in the door. Okay, then you start with Google Ads. Yeah, add in the SEO component, but do not expect the SEO to be doing anything really for the next quarter, possibly even half a year, because it takes a long time for this thing for SEO to take traction. Once it takes traction, it's like a snowball. It will keep building and building. But ads will get you hitting the ground running pretty much straight away.
Yeah. And if you don't do Google Ads and competitors are doing it, you're basically just giving them a 50-meter head start in a 100-meter race, aren't you? So I know people are resistant to the idea because, you're paying for every visit. When someone clicks on an ad, you're paying for that click. But it absolutely helps SEO and helps every other part of your business. So I would say it's a no-brainer. Even if you don't have to spend a huge amount of money on it, but getting people onto your website through Google Ads is a really good way to help your long-term SEO. You can turn them off after a while, and then you can rely on your organic SEO. All right, point 2. Domain age and the name of your domain, your actual domain name, are important. Now, Google claims your domain name isn't important, but that's rubbish. Again, it is important. So brand new websites, brand new domain name, much harder to rank than an existing website that's been around for a few years. And if you can possibly put in your domain name what it is you do and where it is you do it, you will find that you'll have an easier time ranking for it. For example, if I'm opening, again, go to Thornbury, if I'm opening a podiatrist clinic in Thornbury, I'm going to call that thornburypodiatrist.com.au. I'm not going to call it TGPC, .net, whatever. I mean, all these kind of things where you do these acronyms, avoid it if you possibly can. Just put what it is you do and where it is you do it in your domain name. Now, Google denies that as well, but in my experience, I think that's nonsense. Alan, do you agree with me, or do you agree with Google?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree completely. Google does think it's nonsense, but we know that it definitely doesn't appear to be nonsense.
No. Now, the other thing, bonus tip is, you'll likely need more than one page to rank for your desired topics, keywords. We've covered that already. So that's just a few little bonus tips. And wrapping up, again, we've got 15 minutes over, but SEO should be a part of your online marketing, not all of it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's just one weapon in your arsenal, as I've said before. Alan, anything else you want to say, wrapping up the last 2 points are self-explanatory,
Well,
but
I mean,
anything else you just want to say as your parting gift?
well, the only thing I would say, I mean, at least with SEO, I mean, aside, yes, you need a website. You need to pay for hosting, that sort of stuff. But SEO is a free. It doesn't cost you anything for SEO. You've got
Well,
an
if you
ethical.
if you pay us, it does.
No, yeah, that
If you
well,
pay us to do it, it does.
that's right. But if you take our tips on how you can try to do SEO yourself, if you're not comfortable as yet to engage, you know, it's free. It is a free. It's free. And also services such as Mick had pointed out before, Google Analytics, Google Search Console, Google Tag Manager, they are free as well. So you could plug all those into your site, and you'll get all the data that you need to see, okay, how things are working for your business. And you know, down the track, you might say, okay, geez, actually, we could do it with a boost there. Yep, we'll go and get someone else to do it. But there's nothing to stop you other than time. And resources to go ahead and do SEO. That's a luxury. That's a luxury of it.
It's meritocracy. It's merit based. If you make the best website, you will rank high. Whereas you don't have to pay the most money. So yeah, I agree with Alan. That's right. It's like you've got time and energy, a little bit of expertise, so then you can do it. So here is, by the way, we keep speaking about Google Search Console. This is what it looks like when you're inside there. So you can see the basic performance of your website, how many clicks, how many impressions, etc., etc. That is, again, totally free. Search.google.com. You could start today. Thank you, everybody. That was, I hope, for you guys, interesting. Alan, it was nice for you to join us. I think you only missed about 15 minutes, mate. So that
I'm sorry. Sorry, everyone, for missing that.
All right, that's Sydney. That's Sydney for you. Back to Melbourne tonight, Alan, or what? Or are you going back tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning, mate.
Okay, cool. Now, Julian, no questions?
No questions, Mick? No.
That must mean that we've covered everything perfectly.
I think so.
We bored everyone to tears. One or the other.
We bored everyone to death. Sorry. Can we, presuming everyone's gone anyway, let's have a look.
No, we've still got four people.
Still got 4 people. Okay, so let me see. Remember I wrote that page the other day, guys. What is it? Yeah, I wrote a page on Tuesday to see if I could rank it by today. How to set up Google Search Console for your website guide. And as of just before this, we managed to rank it just on the first page. So I'll consider that a win. Would you consider that a win, guys? So
yeah, so you did that yesterday or whatever it was. So
I did it on Tuesday. Now it's Thursday, right? So yeah, so we've ranked that page first page, Google. I mean, maybe it'll disappear after a while. Maybe it won't be visible everywhere, but I'll consider that a victory.
Yeah, what it is, I mean, considering when you look above the company, so all of these things, when you're looking at rankings, and there's probably another parting word, is when you're looking at it, well, who's in your competing space for those phrases? Who are you competing against, and is it realistic? And I think from that phrase, there's actually a couple of large publishers in that. I may be mistaken, but
there was some pretty big competition. SEMrush and Google first result. So that's pretty good to get that there on the first page. Right?
Yeah. But that's just that's an example, a very quick, crude example of what can be done.
Yeah, but I guess the question there on everyone's lips is can left-handed kittens play ping pong? Now that is a search result. Look at that.
That was done. Yeah, that one was done. Last year? That one was
last year. Yes, a demonstration purpose to show if you write a page about something that no one would ever search for. I ranked this #1 in Google in one day because that's a ridiculous search phrase, obviously. So that's sort of to demonstrate to you, if you want to rank for something that no one cares about, it's actually quite easy.
But the interesting part about that is, so you'll see that's a featured snippet. So just then there's a little question mark underneath and it says about featured snippet. So that's actually, that's not just a standard organic result. So that actually became what Google considered a really authoritative piece on cats playing left-handed ping pong. So as amusing as that may be, as that may. Yeah.
But I also wanted to show Alan that in here is because I wanted to get the featured snippet, I knew I would. That Google is considering this the worldwide #1 most authoritative resource about left-handed kittens playing ping pong. We also, so we get the featured snippet, the #1 organic result, and I believe, yes, we have the #1 result in images as well. So there you go. It's all possible, people. Particularly if you have a business centered around left-handed kittens playing ping pong, you can dominate.
You know who to call if you do.
You know who to call. Call Heartbeat Digital.